Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes life doesn't need years to change. It doesn't even need months. It can take just one night of decision, one night of clarity, one night where you finally say enough is enough. You see, transformation doesn't wait for calendars. It doesn't need New Year's resolutions. Change begins the very moment you decide that the old version of yourself will no longer serve the future you desire. Think about it. One night of serious reflection can reveal the truth about where you are. One night of burning desire can fuel the dream you've been neglecting. One night of planning, of discipline, of vision, can set you on a path that no one can stop. Jim Rohn once said, "You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight." And that is the key. You may not wake up tomorrow with all your dreams fulfilled, but you can wake up on a brand new path that leads to them. Some of you are one decision away from rewriting your story. One decision to quit the habits that drain your energy. One decision to start the habits that build your character. One decision to chase the dream that has been whispering to you every single day. Don't underestimate the power of one night. History has been changed in one night. Businesses have been born in one night. Lifelong commitments have been made in one night. And your breakthrough too can happen in just one night, if you decide. But here's the catch. That night must be followed by consistent days. Inspiration starts the fire, but discipline keeps it burning. Motivation opens the door, but commitment walks through it every morning. So tonight, ask yourself, what will I no longer tolerate? What must change? What do I truly want? And let tonight be the night where your new story begins. Because one night of honest decisions backed by daily action will make sure you will never be the same again. When we look at the arc of a human life, we often assume that real change must take years. We think progress is measured in decades. That transformation requires slow, steady movement over long stretches of time. But in truth, the most significant shifts almost always begin in a single moment. One decision, one point in time where a person chooses to see differently, to think differently, and to act differently, can redefine the entire trajectory of their life. It is not the length of time that determines change. It is the intensity of choice. Think about how the human body responds to a sudden decision. A patient who has smoked for 30 years and wakes up one morning deciding never to touch another cigarette has, in that instant, redirected their health. Of course, the lungs will not heal overnight. The body will not restore itself instantly. But the direction is forever changed. That single decision made in a moment is the seed of transformation that will produce fruit in the days and years ahead. The moment of choice is more important than the long road that follows, because without that first decision, no healing, no change, no new direction could even begin. This is the same with the mind. The human mind is constantly processing information, constantly shifting between patterns of thought and emotion. Yet when a person makes a decision, a deep, committed, unwavering decision, it reorganizes the entire nervous system around that new reality. The brain begins to form new pathways, the emotions begin to align with a new vision, and the behaviors begin to follow. That is why one decision can feel like a lightning strike. Everything after that moment begins to orient itself around what was chosen. History is full of these defining decisions. Great discoveries, revolutions, businesses, even families often begin in the quiet of one night when someone says, "I will no longer live this way. I will move forward differently." And it is not the grandness of the decision that matters at first. It is the firmness of it. A small decision held with absolute conviction can carry more weight than 1,000 ideas that are never acted upon. The power of one decision lies not in immediate results, but in altered direction. If you are on a ship, a small adjustment in course, just a few degrees, may not look like much in the first few miles, but carry that adjustment forward for weeks, and you end up in an entirely different continent. Life works in the same way. The choice you make in one night, in 1 hour, even in one conversation with yourself, may not seem to change much by tomorrow morning. But if you hold to that choice, if you nurture it, if you feed it with action, the course of your life will inevitably lead to a new and greater destination. As a doctor, I have seen lives altered not by medicine alone, but by choice. A patient decides to fight for their health, and suddenly the treatments work better. The recovery accelerates. The will to live adds strength to the body. Likewise, in the broader sense of life, when you truly decide to change, the entire universe seems to conspire to support you. Opportunities appear, people arrive, resources unfold, because your decision has shifted what you notice, what you pursue, and what you refuse to tolerate. So do not underestimate the power of one decision. It may feel small, it may look ordinary to the outside world, but within you, that decision can carry the energy of an earthquake, rearranging the structure of your future. You are not defined by the years behind you. You are defined by the choice you make today. And if tonight becomes the night that you choose differently, then tonight will be remembered as the moment that you were never the same again. Clarity is one of the most powerful forces in human life, and yet it is one of the most neglected. People often live in a fog, moving through their days busy, distracted, and burdened with responsibilities, but without ever pausing to ask the deeper questions. Where am I going? Why am I doing what I am doing? What do I really want from my life? When the mind is clouded, decisions are uncertain, energy is wasted, and progress is slow, but one night of honest reflection can clear that fog, and clarity, once discovered, can shift the entire course of a life. Clarity is like the difference between treating a symptom and diagnosing the root cause. A patient may come with a headache, fatigue, or pain. You can provide temporary relief, but unless you know what lies beneath, the problem will return. Life works in exactly the same way. People chase money, possessions, or approval, thinking these will ease the discomfort they feel inside. But without clarity of purpose, without understanding the root of what drives them, they will keep chasing and never feel fulfilled. The night you sit down and reflect deeply, the night you strip away the noise and identify the true cause of your restlessness, is the night you begin the healing of your life. Clarity brings energy. Have you ever noticed how fatigue can vanish when your purpose becomes clear? Patients who once felt tired and weak can suddenly find strength when they are given a clear path forward, when they understand not just the treatment but the reason behind it. Similarly, when you know exactly what you want and why you want it, your energy rises. The fog of confusion drains you because it scatters your attention. Clarity focuses you, and focus magnifies strength. It is often said that the human brain cannot hit a target. It cannot see. That is why clarity is essential. Without it, life becomes random, full of wasted effort and unnecessary struggle. With it, even ordinary actions take on extraordinary meaning. A student who studies without clarity of purpose may see learning as a burden, but a student who sees clearly that education is the bridge to their dream career will study with fire and determination. The same task approached with clarity produces a completely different result. Clarity is also a form of courage. Many avoid reflection because they fear what they might discover. It can be uncomfortable to admit that the path you are on does not align with the life you want. But just as in medicine, where an accurate diagnosis may reveal something difficult, it is still better than ignorance, because once you see clearly, you can begin to treat it. The truth may sting for a moment, but it empowers you for a lifetime. One night of deep clarity can change what you tolerate. When you are unclear, you accept almost anything. Poor habits, unfulfilling work, toxic relationships, because you do not see the damage they are doing. But when clarity comes, your standards rise instantly. You begin to reject what weakens you and embrace what strengthens you. Patients who finally understand how sugar or smoking destroys their health often quit immediately, because now the picture is clear. Likewise, when you see the true cost of wasted time, or the true value of pursuing your vision, you will not hesitate to act. Clarity is power because it does not just change what you see, it changes who you become. When you know where you are going, you walk differently. You speak differently. You live differently. Others sense it too, and doors open where before there were only walls. A clear mind attracts clear opportunities. So if you wish for transformation, do not simply ask for more strength, more time, or more resources. First, ask for clarity. Take one night free from distraction and look within. Write, think, pray, or simply sit in silence until the fog begins to lift. That night may be the beginning of your new life, because once you see clearly, you can never go back to the old confusion. And from that point forward, your life will no longer be the same. When people think about change, they often imagine the end result, the new career, the healthy body, the thriving relationship, or the financial freedom. But the truth is, destinations are never reached in an instant. You cannot arrive at your dream overnight. What you can do, however, is alter your direction overnight. This is one of the most liberating truths of life. You do not have to wait years to feel progress. You simply need to point yourself toward a new path, and that shift alone has the power to transform everything that follows. In medicine, we see this principle every day. A patient with uncontrolled diabetes will not become healthy overnight, but the very evening they make the decision to change their diet, to monitor their blood sugar, to begin treatment, their trajectory shifts. The numbers may not change instantly, but their future has already been rewritten. The body begins to respond, slowly at first, but inevitably, because the direction has changed. Life works in the same way. You may not see immediate results when you decide to turn your life around, but the change is already underway. The distinction between destination and direction is vital. Too many people become discouraged because they want instant results. They want the healthy body tomorrow, the thriving business next week, or the fulfilling life in a month. And when that doesn't happen, they give up. But the wise person understands that it is not about reaching the mountain overnight. It is about facing the mountain and taking the first step. Direction matters more than speed. A ship may take weeks to cross the ocean, but the moment the captain turns the wheel, the destination is already chosen. Think of how many lives could change if people realize this simple truth. Someone drowning in debt may feel overwhelmed by the size of the mountain ahead, but the night they decide to stop borrowing and start managing, they have already changed their direction. A young person without education may feel lost, but the day they decide to pick up a book, enroll in a class, or find a mentor, their entire future shifts. The destination is still far, but the direction is secured. In medicine, we never promise instant healing. What we promise is a process. The same is true in personal growth. You cannot undo years of neglect or poor choices in one night, but you can stop adding to the problem in one night. You can choose a new course. That single choice, repeated daily, brings compounding results. In the beginning, the difference may feel small, almost invisible. But over months and years, the person who changed direction will be unrecognizable compared to the one who continued on the old path. Direction also brings peace of mind. Even before results appear, people feel lighter once they know they are heading the right way. A patient who begins treatment often says, "Doctor, I already feel better just knowing I am finally doing something about it." That psychological shift is powerful. It restores hope, renews energy, and makes discipline easier to maintain. Likewise in life, once you know you are moving toward the life you want, you no longer feel lost. You may not be there yet, but you are not drifting. You are on your way. So never underestimate the power of one decision that changes your direction. Tonight you may not reach the destination of your dreams, but you can decide to walk toward it. And that decision makes you a different person immediately, because who you are is defined not only by where you stand, but by where you are headed. If you choose the right direction and commit to walking it every day, the destination will come in time. And when it does, you will look back and realize it all began with one night, one choice, one turning point. Habits are like the silent architects of our lives. Most people underestimate their power because habits operate quietly, almost invisibly, shaping the quality of our health, our thoughts, our relationships, and our future. One of the greatest truths is that a single night of firm commitment can break the cycle of destructive habits and set in motion the building of empowering ones. Just as in medicine, where a change in daily behavior can reverse years of damage, life itself responds profoundly when a person decides to interrupt the patterns that are slowly destroying them. Consider the body of a patient who has lived for years with harmful routines, poor diet, lack of exercise, irregular sleep, or addiction. Each day the damage may seem small, almost unnoticeable, but over time the body deteriorates, organs weaken, and disease takes hold. Then comes the night of decision, the night when the patient says, "I will no longer live this way." The very next morning the body is not suddenly restored to perfect health, but the destruction has been interrupted. From that point forward, the body begins the long process of renewal, one step at a time. That night of decision is more powerful than any medicine, because without it, no medicine can work. Life outside of medicine mirrors this perfectly. Destructive habits extend beyond the physical. They creep into how we think and how we behave. Procrastination, negative self-talk, toxic relationships, constant distractions, all of these can drain life just as surely as disease drains the body. They steal time, energy, and opportunity. Yet, just like unhealthy physical routines, they can be broken in a single moment of clarity. One night of deep resolve, when a person says, "I will not live in this cycle anymore," is enough to disrupt years of conditioning. The chains may not all fall at once, but the lock is broken, and the escape has begun. The power of this decision lies in its depth. Casual wishes will not uproot destructive habits. Firm commitments will. In the same way that a surgeon must make a decisive incision to remove what is harming the body, we must make decisive cuts in our daily lives to remove what is harming our future. And the cut is often painful. Patients struggle when asked to give up sugar or cigarettes, not because they do not know the harm, but because the comfort of habit feels safe. Likewise, people cling to procrastination or toxic environments because they feel familiar. But if we are willing to endure the discomfort of that first cut, the healing can begin. The remarkable thing about breaking old patterns is that the moment you stop feeding them, they begin to weaken. Habits are sustained by repetition, by daily reinforcement. The instant you deny them that fuel, their grip loosens. At the same time, when you replace them with empowering routines, reading instead of scrolling endlessly, exercising instead of sitting passively, planning instead of drifting, the new patterns begin to grow stronger. What was once destructive is slowly crowded out by what is constructive. I often tell patients that every powerful transformation begins with subtraction before addition, before health can be restored. What is harmful must be removed before success can take root. What sabotages progress must be broken. This is why one night of resolve is so critical. It is the starting point of subtraction. It is the line in the sand where you refuse to repeat the cycle of yesterday. The beauty of this truth is that once you have made the decision, the future unfolds differently. You are no longer the same person you were before. Even if the struggle continues, you are on a new path. The destructive cycle has been interrupted. The same life that once drained you now has the possibility to build you. So never underestimate the power of one night of firm commitment. One night when you choose to step out of the shadows of destructive patterns and walk into the light of new, empowering ones. That choice may be difficult, it may be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating. And as in the body where healing begins the moment the disease is confronted, your life will begin to heal the moment you confront the habits that no longer serve you. From that night forward, you will never be the same again. Inspiration is a spark. It strikes suddenly, ignites the heart, and for a brief moment, everything feels possible. You may listen to a powerful message, read a moving story, or have a quiet moment of reflection that fills you with energy. It is in these moments that people often say, "From now on, my life will be different." But as a doctor, I have learned that sparks alone are not enough. The spark must be followed by sustained fuel, otherwise it fades. In health, in habits, and personal growth, it is not inspiration that sustains transformation, it is discipline. Imagine a patient who receives devastating news about their health. In that instant, inspiration often strikes. They feel a powerful urge to change. They decide to eat better, exercise, take their medication, and live differently. For a few days, their energy is high, their determination is strong, but then life resumes its normal rhythm. Old temptations return. The excitement of change dulls. Without discipline, the daily deliberate choice to act, the inspiration dies out. The disease continues its course, not because the patient lacked inspiration, but because they lacked discipline. In life, many people confuse motivation with transformation. Motivation is important, but it is fleeting. It is like a breeze that pushes you forward for a moment. Discipline is the steady engine that keeps you moving when the breeze has passed. If you rely only on feeling inspired, you will stop every time the feeling fades. If you rely on discipline, you will keep walking even when you feel nothing. This is the difference between a life of repeated false starts and a life of steady progress. Discipline may not feel glamorous, but it is deeply powerful. It is the medicine of personal growth. Just as patients must take prescribed treatment daily, whether they feel like it or not, we must practice the routines that build our lives daily, whether inspiration is present or absent. The body heals not because of one inspiring moment, but because of countless consistent doses, and the life of a person changes not because of one exciting night of vision, but because of the repeated actions that follow it. Think of any great achievement, whether in science, art, health, or leadership. Behind the visible success lies invisible discipline. The scientist who discovers a cure does not simply have a single night of inspiration. They spend years in disciplined study, research, and testing. The athlete who wins a championship does not rely on the feeling of motivation. They train daily through pain, fatigue, and doubt. The parent who raises strong, capable children does so not with occasional bursts of energy, but with disciplined love, guidance, and consistency day after day. Discipline is also what protects the flame of inspiration. A spark left unguarded is extinguished by the winds of distraction. But if you place that spark into the structure of discipline, like wood carefully stacked and tended, it becomes a fire that can last a lifetime. Inspiration without discipline leads to frustration. Discipline without inspiration may feel heavy, but together they create unstoppable transformation. The truth is, discipline does not always feel good in the moment. Just as medicine does not always taste sweet, but both lead to healing and growth. Patients who commit to treatment even when they dislike it are the ones who recover. People who commit to their routines even when they feel no motivation are the ones who succeed. And over time, discipline itself creates inspiration because progress generates energy. Small wins fuel larger victories, and what once felt like duty eventually feels like joy. So never mistake the spark for the fire. Inspiration can open your eyes to what is possible, but only discipline can carry you there. Decide not only to feel moved tonight, but to build a structure of action that will keep you moving tomorrow and the next day and the day after that. If you make discipline your ally, your life will not just have moments of excitement, it will have a steady journey of growth, health, and fulfillment. That is when transformation becomes permanent. And that is when one night of inspiration, reinforced by daily discipline, ensures that you will never be the same again. There are certain moments in life when everything can change. They do not announce themselves with fireworks, nor do they always come during grand events. Sometimes it is in the quiet of the evening, in a private conversation, or in the solitude of your own thoughts. It is the night when you finally recognize that the way you have been living cannot continue. It is the night when you admit the truth to yourself, when you feel the urgency of time, and when you decide to act. That night becomes a turning point. And though tomorrow may look the same to the outside world, inside, you are never the same again. In medicine, there is often a night when a patient makes this kind of turning point. They may have heard advice for years: eat healthier, exercise, reduce stress, take your medication. Yet they ignore it, hoping the consequences will not come. Then one night arrives. Perhaps it is a health scare, perhaps a moment of clarity, perhaps simply fatigue from living the same destructive way. On that night, they finally say, "Enough. I will not go on like this." From that night forward, everything changes, not because the body is instantly healed, but because the will has shifted, the direction has altered, and the commitment has begun. In life beyond medicine, the same principle applies. People drift for years in unsatisfying jobs, in harmful relationships, in patterns of procrastination and wasted time. They live as if tomorrow is guaranteed, as if there will always be more chances. And then, in one night, something awakens within them. They realize time is precious. They realize potential has been waiting. They realize they are capable of more. And when that realization is paired with decision, a new life begins. It is important to understand that such a night is not just about emotion, it is about commitment. Many people feel inspired for a moment, but unless that inspiration is crystallized into a firm choice, nothing truly changes. The turning point must be marked by action. A patient who says they want to live but never takes the medicine has not truly decided. Likewise, a person who dreams of success but refuses to adjust their habits has not truly made the turn. The night of decision becomes real only when it is followed by a morning of action. These turning points are rare, and that is why they are so powerful. You may have thousands of ordinary nights in your life, but only a few will carry the weight of destiny. You must recognize them when they come. They may come disguised as frustration, when you are simply too tired of repeating the same mistakes. They may come in the form of opportunity, when a door opens unexpectedly. They may come in the form of pain, when life forces you to reevaluate everything. But if you respond with courage, that night becomes the foundation of a new future. What makes these nights unforgettable is not just the decision itself, but the ripple effect it creates. Once you draw a line in the sand, once you say, "This is the moment my life changes," you begin to carry yourself differently. Others notice it. New opportunities appear. Old limitations fade. And slowly, what was once a single night of resolve becomes a lifetime of transformation. So if tonight feels like one of those nights, do not ignore it. Do not push it aside and promise yourself you will act later. Later is the language of regret. Now is the language of change. Treat tonight as sacred because it may be the night that alters the story of your life. You may not yet see the full extent of what will unfold, but you will look back one day and recognize that everything began here in this moment of courage. One night can change your health. One night can change your habits. One night can change your destiny. And if you choose to make that night tonight, you will never be the same again.